Right now, scammers are draining millions daily from meme coin hunters just like you and me. If you're trading on chain without knowing these red flags, you, my friend, are the exit liquidity. And so today I'm going to expose every scam tactic. I'm going to show you how the pros dodge them and the secret tool that no one else knows about yet. And this tool is going to give you the edge. So do me a favor, press that like button. There's no time to waste. Let's get on to it. Here we are, dear ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to expose to you all the types of scams and all the single types of scam tactics that exist so you don't get rugged and you are not the participant in a chart that looks like this. The first thing you do is you open up Padre, there's a link down below. The first button you click right down here beneath the chart at the right next to this green thing called Instant Trade. This is your bubble maps. And you're going to open up your bubble maps and you're going to check what, holy moly, look at this. I mean, who's buying these charts? Guys, if you open up the bubble maps and it looks like this, obviously you should never touch this coin. You don't even need to look at anything else if the bubble maps is a giant bundle. I mean, this entire coin is held by just one person essentially. Look at this. The cluster is a 100% cluster. I've never seen anything like this. This is literally a 100% cluster. Look right here. Insane. So now let's diminish our bubble maps window. Let's put the bubble maps window here at the top left. Another thing that you can see, just ignoring the bubble maps, which already told you everything you need to know about this token, look at this. If you look at how the candles look on the 5-minute chart, it's just up only, it's just green. And then you look at market cap and it's already in the billions. So you know this is a completely manipulated chart. The market cap doesn't add up. It's just going up and up and up and up for essentially 1 hour. And then of course it's going to get rugged because look at this bubble maps. It's the most insane bubble maps I've ever seen. And then another thing you can do to check if it's a bundle or not is look at data and security to the right. And this is very, 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 very good too. Okay, let me close the bubble maps. So snipers, you still have 13 out of 20. So you had 20 snipers here. They're basically holding almost nothing. They've already exited. The top 10 holders hold still 60% of the token, and you still have this first buyer's tool. The first buyer's tool is a tool that gives you what the first 100 wallets that entered the token, they did. And as you can see, the first 100 wallets, they're all in the red now. Why? Because 82 out of 100 already sold, and this was the same person holding these 82 wallets, and they've already exited. And so this grid gives you a great insight into what happened in that first block, in those first 100 buys, so you know exactly if this is a scam or not. Anyways, let's look at another chart because this one was so obvious and easy to spot. Then we have this one, okay? This one is very interesting. Why? You don't even need the bubble maps for this one. You know this is a scam just by looking at the candles. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to click right on the top left, 1 second candles. And in the 1 second candles, the chart went essentially from 0 to 287 market cap in 1 second. No organic real chart goes from 0 to 200k market cap in 1 second. Absolutely none. It's impossible. And here's what this token did. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, it went from essentially 0 to 380 market cap, and then in the 6th second it went to 0 and you got rugged. Very interesting. They have holding 0%. If you looked at the data to the right, even to stuff like, for example, fresh wallet buys here on Padre, by the way, link down below, you gotta start trading on Padre. It gives you a ton of information. This fresh wallets buys gives you the number of buys made by wallets that had a recent SOL balance of 0. What that means is a lot of the times you spot a rug by the amount of wallets that had 0 and now have 1 SOL or more that bought the token, because normal traders usually before they buy a token, they already have some SOL or some profits, some numbers, something inside their wallet. So you know that a wallet is a rug if essentially it's empty, it received some SOL and then immediately bought that specific token. And this thing here called fresh wallets holding fresh wallet buys tells you that if you see a lot of fresh wallet buys, you know it's a rug. So sometimes on the data and security, the numbers actually don't look that bad. They look good because a lot of the data and security put is overrun by very, very smart scammers and ruggers. Look at the bubble maps. The bubble maps also doesn't look too bad. So sometimes scammers and ruggers, they know how to surpass what? Bubble maps, a lot of the data and security numbers, these sniper trackers, these bundle trackers, these fresh wallet buys. Some of these people know how to do that. So you need to do what? You need to know how to spot a rug just by looking at the charts. Never buy something that goes from 0 to 300k in 5 seconds, okay? Just by looking at the charts, you have to be able sometimes to spot these rugs. Another thing is, if you look at the top left, this is graduated from virtual curve, and this means it's a Meteora token. Meteora tokens you never buy. You only buy stuff from PumpSwap, from LaunchLab, from Believe app, from BunkBot, only these 4. Everything else, if it's like a Radium V4 token, don't buy. If it's a Meteora token, never buy. Look, this one was also, the previous one I was talking was also Radium V4, as you can see here on the top. Right here you can see Radium V4. Right here on this one you can see Meteora DYM. Never buy Meteora Radium tokens. On this one there were so many red flags, the Tesla one, it was actually very, very easy to spot the rug. And I didn't even talk about how the chart looked. It looked ridiculous. On this one, some people bought it on the first 5 seconds they thought it was a win, but obviously it doesn't pass the smell test because a normal chart does never go in 5 seconds from 0 to 370k. Then let's look at another one that could have fooled a lot of people that also rugged, and it passes the first smell test, which is looking at the chart. Just by looking at the chart, at the 1 second chart, it does look organic because there was a lot of buys and sells. Look, there was quite a few dips, but it just kept going up and up in an organic fashion. A lot of people obviously got deceived on this token. So the first thing we're going to do is check if there's any socials. There's actually no socials on this. That's a red flag. But sometimes tokens with no socials do pretty well. So now let's look at the bubble maps. The bubble maps essentially also passes the smell test. It doesn't look too bad. So here's what we need to do. Let's look at the data and the security of this token. Firstly, snipers, it passes the smell test. It doesn't give us any snipers. So if this is a rug, it was a pretty well made rug. And then let's look at first buyers. Let's look at the first 100 wallets. What happened on that first block? Essentially, you have the rug proof here. And this is why this first buyers setting, which I don't think any other protocol out there has, this is very important. Total bought plus 100%. So you know, one guy had all the tokens. This guy controlled all the single first 100 wallets. Look at this. In here, he had 20 million tokens on this buy. On this buy, he had 170 million tokens. Actually insane. So one person completely controlled all the tokens. And it looks like the only way to spot this rug is if you were using the first buyer's grid. If you looked at it, just visually looking at it, you would have seen it's an obvious rug. You would have avoided it, and now it went to 0. But it did look organic. I think this guy made a ton of money because he was able to deceive almost everyone. No bubble maps, no snipers. Top 10 holders probably wasn't looking too bad. Insider holdings also. Some of these guys can actually deceive insider holding data. But then again, fresh wallet buys right here at the right. Let me zoom in. Fresh wallet buys. Let's look. 123. What are fresh wallet buys? Total number of buys made by wallets whose SOL balance was recently 0. So essentially, there were 123 wallets that before this token had 0 in their balance. They received some SOL and they bought only specifically this token. And so you know, this is the guy. He's bundling the coins, he's sending it to fresh wallets and then buying this. If you see a large number of these fresh wallet buys, you know it's a rug. Fresh wallet buys plus the first buyer's grid, this grid. And this is why you have to start using Padre, because I think only Padre gives you this first buyers plus this fresh wallet buys. So you get this grid, you get the fresh wallet buys, and then you get the fresh wallet holding. Right now, the fresh wallets are holding essentially 0. They already dumped all their tokens. And so if you have something with fresh wallet buys, it went to 0, but then revived, and then you look at their holdings, they're holding 0, then yeah, you can trade after the fresh wallets exit. So the grid and the fresh wallets are very important. Sometimes the bubble maps doesn't accuse, as I said previously countless times. Sometimes there's no socials, but the chart still looks organic. There's no snipers. The dev holding isn't too bad. Bundles holding isn't accusing a lot, but still, it might still be a scam. This is a very well made scam, and you can just tell by the chart, by the way, that it almost went to $1 million market cap. This guy probably made 6 figures plus, and he was able to deceive a lot of people. That's why you need to start using Padre, and you need to start looking at stuff like first buyers, etc. Then let's look at another chart. Again, opening on the 1 second. The 1 second chart is very hard to deceive. Just by looking at this chart, you know it's a scam. Look at the way this chart looks, okay? Aggressive sells, and then just small buys over a couple of seconds. Completely inorganic. But if you're not looking at the 1 second, let's say you're looking at the 1 minute chart. The 1 minute chart, let's say you're here. It actually doesn't look too bad, the 1 minute chart. And then you look at dev holdings, probably wasn't looking too bad. You look at snipers, there weren't a lot of snipers. There's still 2 out of 6. The top 10 holders maybe wasn't accusing a lot of money. Insider holdings wasn't looking too bad. Bundles holding could also not be looking too bad. And then the chart doesn't look too bad. So you need to do what? You need to come to the 1 second chart, because the 1 second chart is not something you can deceive. On the 1 second chart, you can actually see if it's really organic or not. And obviously on the 1 second chart, this thing pulling it like a V type pattern of buys and sells, completely inorganic. Just by looking at the chart on the 1 second, you would have spotted this was an obvious scam, and you shouldn't be buying this. You don't even need the grid, which is also accusing. Look, total bought 271%. One guy literally bought almost 100, 98 out of 100 first wallets to buy. This guy like literally had the entire supply, but you didn't need the grid, and you didn't even need to look at the fresh wallet buys. 333. Let's zoom in. 333 fresh wallet buys. Wallets created specifically just to buy this token. 333. This was also like obvious accuser that this was a bundle. Just by looking at the pattern, you could have ignored. So understanding chart patterns, understanding organic versus inorganic, this is another thing that you need to learn. Obviously inorganic. Then this was also a very recent rug. First thing we do, is there any socials? There's no socials, but it's a pump swap token. So maybe it could be, let's say it was at 180k. This could be an organic token that just a lot of people want to buy. But then you click on bundle. Let's look at the bundle chart, and oh my god, look at this. Guys, if the bubble maps looks like this, when you click the bubble chart down at the right and it looks like this, you don't need to look at anything else. This is an obvious rug, okay? Then of course, dev holding almost 90%. Top 10 holders, let's zoom in, 100%. Fresh wallet holdings, 87%. You don't need any more information than this and the bubble maps. By the way, this is the bubble maps logo right here. And then finally, let's look at the last type of scam. This one deceives normal normies and people that don't use these tools, that don't use Padre, for example, don't use any way to check bundles. On the 1 second chart, you already know this is a scam because it looks like someone's monitoring your heartbeat. I mean, this is not a normal chart. And what's happening here, let me explain what's happening here. This chart is going to do this. In 1 second, it's going to go straight to zero. It's going to be a red candle out of nowhere, bam, and this is going to disappear and go to zero. But why is this thing going up and down? Why is this thing like just going up and down, up and down, up and down? What's happening is, let's look at the bubble maps first. Obviously, you have these 3 clusters. This is obviously a giant scam. One of these clusters is essentially buying and selling the token. This guy holds probably 99%, maybe 100% of the token, and he's just with one cluster buying and selling, buying and selling. And what this does is it creates volume. A lot of the people trading, they're looking for volume metrics. Oh, I want to trade something that has good amount of volume. I want to trade something that has high amount of volume. And they're not looking at the 1 second chart. They're looking at, for example, the 5-minute chart. And on the 5-minute chart, if you're a newbie, maybe this doesn't look too bad. In fact, there might be some chart out there that you could be looking at it right here, and it can actually look somewhat organic. Then, of course, this sideways action is just him putting volume. This is obviously inorganic. But just looking at the 5-minute chart, some people don't understand how inorganic this looks. They might think, oh, this is trading sideways at 1 million market cap. Maybe it can go to 2 million. Maybe it can go to 5 million. Obviously, this is a giant scam. The 1 second chart, again, as I said previously, zoom out a little bit on the 1 second chart, already tells you everything you need to know about this token. Giant scam. Looks like someone's monitoring my heartbeat. Then you look at the grid, 41% total bot, still holding, currently holding 11%. It looks bad, but some of these tokens that look like this still pump. But of course, the bundle chart, I like to call it, has massive bundles. Inorganic, look at this. These three bundles are enormous. This one is holding 20+%. This is a giant bundle. And you want to avoid these charts, of course. But you should know just by looking at the 1 second chart that this is something you should avoid at all costs before it goes to zero. And then, of course, the final thing that tells you that this is a rug is this is a Radium CLMM, okay? You don't want to trade Radium and Meteor charts. You want to try and avoid all these meme coins that are launched on Radium V4, that are here Radium CLMM and Meteor. And so how do you do that? It's very simple, actually. You just click on Padre, you go to trenches, and then on your filters, you remove Boop and Dynamic BC. Same thing here, remove Boop Dynamic. Same thing here, remove Boop Dynamic and Boop. You only want Pump Fun, you want Launch Lab, you want Bonk, and you want Believe. Filter out everything else. And then in the trending, if you see anything that's related to, for example, Radium, also avoid. These are all 99% of the time scams. Anyways, guys, this was today's show. I hope you learned a lot about how to avoid scams. Currently, I think the best place to avoid them with the most data is Padre. There's a link down below. There's also a link in the comments down below. And if you join Padre, you're going to be able to join my private group, and only if you join through my links that I'm sharing in the video. If you joined previously, like last month on another platform, don't worry about it. But if you're watching this video for the first time, you need to be joining to my free group. You need to be joining Padre on the link down below. It's going to be free, but only for my Padre signees or the people that signed previously on other platforms. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope you guys avoid getting rugged going forward, and I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow with more videos and with more alpha. Thank you very much.